William Henry Harrison was the 9th President of the United States, serving in 1841. He was a military officer and a politician. One of the major points of Harrison's presidency was his efforts to address the issue of land and sovereignty in the western United States. Harrison took a strong stance against Native American tribes in the region and sought to remove them from their ancestral lands to make way for white settlers. He also worked to establish sovereignty over the Western territories, which were at the time disputed with foreign powers such as Great Britain and Mexico. Harrison is also known for his brief tenure in office. He was the first president to die in office, serving only 31 days before he passed away from pneumonia. His death led to the ascension of his vice president, John Tyler, to the presidency. Overall, William Henry Harrison's presidency was marked by his brief tenure in office. John Tyler was the 10th President of the United States, serving from 1841 to 1845. He was the first vice president to assume the presidency after the death of a sitting president. John Tyler was a member of the Whig Party when he became President of the United States in 1841, but he quickly developed a strained relationship with them. Tyler was chosen as vice president by the Whigs as part of a compromise in the 1840 election, but he had a different political philosophy than many members and often clashed with them on policy matters. One of the main sources of tension between Tyler and the Whigs was the issue of federal spending and the size of the government. Tyler was a constitutionalist and believed in a limited role for the federal government, while the Whigs were in favor of a more active role and higher levels of spending by the federal government. Another area of disagreement between Tyler and the Whigs was tariffs. Tyler believed in lower tariffs and free trade, while many Whigs favored higher tariffs to protect American industries. Tyler's differences with the Whigs came to a head in 1841 when he vetoed the rechartering of the Second Bank of the United States, a key issue for the Whigs. This veto and other policy differences led to a breakdown in relations between Tyler and the Whigs, and Tyler eventually left to become a member of the Democratic Party. A major event during John Tyler's presidency was the annexation of the Republic of Texas in 1845. Texas had won its independence from Mexico in 1836 and had established itself as a republic. In the years following its independence, Texas sought to join the United States as a state, but the issue was debated in Congress for several years. Many advocates for annexation believed that the annexation of Texas would strengthen the United States and provide a valuable new source of land and resources. Those who opposed, mostly northern politicians, opposed the expansion of slavery into new territory. In the end, the annexation of Texas was approved by Congress and signed into law by President Tyler in 1845. The annexation was met with strong resistance from Mexico, which considered Texas to be a part of its territory. The annexation ultimately led to the Mexican-American War, which began in 1846. Tyler also faced economic difficulties during his presidency. During the 1840s, there was a rapid expansion of the railroad industry in the United States, which led to overspeculation and a bubble in the market. Many investors put money into railroad companies with the hope of making quick profits, but the expansion of railroads was not always well planned and there was often more demand for rail transportation than the industry could meet. This led to overcapacity and overproduction, which caused prices and profits to fall. Additionally, some railroad companies issued securities, such as stocks and bonds, without sufficient collateral to back them up, creating a situation where there were more securities in circulation than there were actual assets. In 1844, the economic downturn, declining foreign markets, and overspeculation in the railroad industry all contributed to a financial panic, causing many investors to lose money and contributing to a recession during John Tyler's presidency. Tyler was also involved in foreign affairs during his presidency, including negotiating the Webster-Ashburton Treaty with Great Britain. The treaty, signed in 1842, established the boundary between the United States and Canada along the 49th parallel, except for a small area around the Great Lakes where the boundary was adjusted to better reflect the location of existing settlements. The treaty also settled a dispute over the boundary between the state of Maine and the province of New Brunswick, which had been a source of tension between the two countries for several decades. The treaty established a formal process for the extradition of criminals between the United States and Great Britain, allowing for the extradition of individuals accused or convicted of crimes in one country to be returned to face justice in the other. Lastly, the treaty also included provisions to combat the illegal slave trade, with both countries agreeing to use their naval forces to intercept and seize vessels engaged in the trade. The Webster-Ashburton Treaty was seen as a major diplomatic achievement and helped to improve relations between the United States and Great Britain, which had been strained in the past due to disputes. The treaty was ratified by both countries and went into effect in 1843. It remains in effect today and continues to be an important framework for cooperation between the United States and Canada. John Tyler did not run for re-election in 1844 and left office in March 1845. He is often considered one of the least successful presidents in American history.